Good evening. Tempers flared at Universal Studios tonight when the park ran out of its signature drink, butterbeer. What started as disappointment soon grew into a noisy confrontation with security and police.
Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. It's Christmas. Yeah. Sleigh bells ring. It's Christmas. Gift in my hand. It's Christmas. Rap quick, more Christmas. Light up the block. It's Christmas. Yeah.
Yo! Move! Back up! Oh my God! It's hitting the monorail!
Get ready to blast beyond your imagination at the all-new Epic Universe theme park.
It's the adventure of every world in one place.
Thrill through twisting coasters, journey through cosmic frontiers, and end your night under dazzling...
Buckle up, time travelers. Blast through the past, rocket to the future, and hang on tight as you chase the clock in the ultimate adventure. It's fast, it's furious, and it's only at Universal Studios Orlando. Back to the...
Hello, neighbor. Welcome to the Capture the Magic channel. I'm so glad you found your way here. I've heard that the host, Jared, is a very handsome and charming guy. And you know something? I think you'll enjoy listening to him a whole lot.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. Happy Friday on a it's kind of a chilly Florida Friday night, and I kind of like it. I don't like it when it's in the 20s, but it's in like the 40s and 50s. I kind of like it whenever it's December. I just don't want snow and lots of wind. I don't know. That's just me anyways. But we have a fun live stream lined up. We've got some great guests, some good topics here. We're going to talk about a report about Stardust Racers incident that was released today. So we'll go over that. We're also going to talk a little bit about Disney and basically embracing AI completely by buying a little bit into OpenAI. And then we're also going to talk a little bit, because I don't think we've actually discussed, since it was announced, the expansions that were announced or that we found out through permits that are coming to Epic Universe. So that's what's on the docket, including whatever random stuff comes up, which I'm sure there will be plenty. But before we get to our topics here, just want to introduce the panel that is joining me. First and foremost, we got, as usual, Slime Square, which you actually started a podcast on your channel.
Correct. I did. I finally jumped both feet into the podcasting. I've been doing podcasting as a contributor on Orange Grove 55 and more recently Capture the Magic. However, I've now decided to create my own content. And for anybody that follows me now, you can follow me over there. I'm going to be posting once a week. It's going to be on Wednesdays. I think I'll probably post it later on in the day. But it's just going to be an analog style podcast. I'm not even going to be on the screen. And the reason I've chose to do that route is it's just a little bit more organic. Sometimes I find podcasting or listening to a podcast being distracting if I have to follow information on the screen. And I've chosen to go with the format that is just less distracting. You can keep your phone in your pocket, pop the headphones in or play it on your speaker, put the phone over there, continue what you're doing, and just listen passively to my podcast. It's a little bit more old school, but I don't know. It allows me to flow better. And I just find myself doing that with a lot of podcasts I listen to. Of course, except for Capture the Magic. You always got to look at this guy when he's on the screen.
Gotta watch.
And
it has the entertainment value. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah, we did our podcast. I mean, it was years before we did a video version. So I completely understand where you're coming from.
And if I figure out streaming and content creating a little bit more down the road, I might do something a little bit more creative that requires some editing and things like that. But anyways, hey, look, hello, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining everyone. This is actually the first theme parking that I've done with Theme Park Conductor. So thanks for coming on this Friday evening. I know everybody's got more important things to do, or at least, this is the most important thing to do if you're here, right? So welcome one and all. And as far as where you can find me, I'm on Slime Square or Slime Square 84, just depending on its X, Instagram, or YouTube, but pretty easy to find.
There you go. I'll put all the description for everybody in the comment or in the description below. And honestly, when you're starting out simple is not a bad thing, because eventually you'll add more stuff into it. But I always tell people, start bare bones as possible, because then it's, if you start with too much, it can be kind of like too big of a hill to climb. So nothing wrong with that at all. But back on the channel as well as Mr. Theme Park Conductor out on the West Coast. Theme Park Conductor, thank you for being here. Where can everybody find you, and what have you been up to?
Well, thank you for inviting me on this very first theme parking live stream. I'm super excited to be here. And I've been busy between my job, 9 to 5 job, and then doing YouTube content. There's a lot to cover out here on the West Coast with finally the Disneyland Resort, taking off the training wheels and finally putting up construction walls for hopefully what we see in the next couple years is this massive portos coming to downtown Disney. I was just at Universal the other day to cover the Raising Cane's flag. It seems like a flagship restaurant to me because it's very unique. Opening in City Walk. There's a lot of updates and permits happening at Universal Studios Hollywood, and I'm counting down the days, gentlemen, where I am going to make my way to your neck of the woods in Orlando, Florida, to be covering Walt Disney World and Universal Orlando for my very first time. It's going to be an amazing time, and there's going to be a lot of content, a lot of live streams, and it's just going to be absolutely incredible by far. But you can find me on social media on YouTube and Blue Sky at Theme Park Conductor. You can find me on Instagram at theme_park_conductor. You can find me on X at Theme Conductor. Also on TikTok at Theme Park Conductor 1. And every Sunday at 5 or 7 p.m. for Conductor Sunday live stream, where we break down Disneyland and Universal news and we speculate and talk about rumors for the parks in the near future. It's a great time. The chat loves it. I love it. My guests love it. It's just such a wonderful time. Come join us sometime.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you for being here. Like I said, everybody's stuff will be in the description below. And sorry for being late, by the way. I pushed back the start time because I was trying to fit a workout in because today was really busy. And then Slimer was working out and he hurt himself. And then we got to talking about working out before we started going live. And then we got a little carried away. So it happens. It's Friday night. We're just hanging out. But I enjoy I like the idea of a nice, cozy Friday night stream. Before we get into anything, let's say hi to the chat. We got Kika and Luca. So what's up, Kiki and Luca? We have Storybook Sorceress, which I'm confused. She says theme parking on Saturday. Let's go. Is it Saturday? I think it's Friday, right? Am I losing my mind? It's Friday, right?
It's Friday.
Okay. Well, I'm not saying Storybook Sorceress is losing my mind. I know with me, I'm like, wait a minute. Is it really Friday? Because I have had days. I remember vividly, this is when I was in college. I woke up and was like about an hour into my morning before I realized it was Saturday. I thought it was like Thursday, and I was like going to go to class and do all these things. And then I was like, oh, it's Saturday. So it does happen. I've been there. But we got Brian says, hey, Jared, Theme Park Conductor and Slime Square. How are you guys? I think we're doing pretty good. Hopefully everybody on the chat's doing well. We got Haunted Mermaid says, hello, Conductor. Hello, hello. We have Zachary Cleary says, what's up, Conductor? And there's some other, I lost some of those in there, but we'll say hi to the chat. Like I said, I love when you guys are participating and be involved in here. So feel free to, give your opinions, what we're going to talk about. But the first thing we're going to talk about is, it's not a fun topic to talk about, but it is something that we have had lots of questions about since this incident happened, which is, where did I put it? Hold on. Why is it not showing up? Oh, there's a scroll bar there. Which is the Stardust Racers incident where Kevin Rodriguez Zavala passed away. We knew early on it was from blunt force trauma to the head, or at least we're assuming to the head. They just said blunt force trauma. And as of last night, they finally released the full report from the investigation about their findings. And we'll talk about it here real quick and see how this lines up with everything we've talked about before. But basically, they say, we know the facts here that this was back on September 17th is when he rode this coaster, passed away. And the details of what happened are, I will give a little bit of a warning. It's a little, I'm going to say graphic, but it's descriptive. So if you've got little ones or you don't like hearing some of this stuff, you might kind of close your ears or eyes real quick. But it says here that Zavala was a guest at Epic Universe and died after riding on Stardust Racers. They came on a man-down call to the theme park. When they found Zavala, he was unresponsive. later transported to a hospital where he passed away. Some of the details here are, let's see, it said deputy was directed to the chair where Zavala and his girlfriend were positioned on the ride, which was the second to last pair of chairs on the ride vehicle. It says, quote, I observed there to be a single Nike shoe on the ground, as well as a significant amount of blood on the chair and on the bar in front of the chair, the deputy noted in the report. One Epic Universe employee in a sworn statement said he instructed the attraction operators to release Zavala from the lap bar so he could be removed from his seat and CPR could be initiated. Another employee said Zavala had injuries to his face, as well as significant amount of blood loss. So we do know Zavala's girlfriend was riding with him on the coaster, and she said, quote, directly before the ride began, a Universal ride employee pushed down on Zavala's lap restraint multiple times. She said she remembers very little about what happened next, but remembers seeing him hit his head on the seat multiple times. Obviously, she was very shaken, had like a panic attack when she was giving her statement. Said she went on to say that it took approximately 2 to 3 attempts to get the safety bar to secure around Zavala. She believed he was secured in, but Zavala flew forward, striking his head multiple times on the first hill. She said she tried to hold him back, but she couldn't do so, was crying for help. This sounds terrible. Was crying for help during the ride, but nobody could hear her because obviously you're on a roller coaster. So there was a doctor. This was like sort of reported about, but it wasn't confirmed. So there was a doctor that was in line to ride this that did jump into action. So the report said that a doctor describes Zavala as being completely slouched over with blood surrounding him. She noted that the ride staff appeared to have been frozen, so she proceeded to jump over the fence and ran around the ride to get closer to Zavala. She noted that he was completely unresponsive as his arm was hanging over the side. She continued to try and see if she could get a pulse, but she could not find one. And I think the thing that's the most shocking about this is the doctor explained that his legs shocked him and said Zavala's femurs were completely broken in half and resting on the back of the chair.
What?
So that goes into some more basically the full details of sort of what happened in this report. They came away and said that they're not pressing charges against Universal, and essentially this case is closed. You guys have any thoughts about any of that, and anything that, we had a lot of assumptions about what happened. Does any of that surprise you, or kind of what you guys were sort of expecting?
Slimer, you go ahead.
Well, I certainly didn't expect it to be that graphic. I think that was a little bit more graphic than what we had initially heard. I mean, we already knew about the blood and the blunt force trauma that we already knew, but read that part about his femurs again.
That was the part I had to reread, and like visually thinking about that is, it's a grotesque scene. So the exact quote here on that part is, hold on, I just had it. Let me find it. Here we go. Hold on. Where was it? Oh, here we go. The doctor explained that, quote, his legs shocked him. I suppose seeing it was a shock to the doctor, and said Zavala's femur was, quote, completely broken in half and resting on the back of the chair.
What the hell?
So they go on to describe in this, because obviously we had questions about that, and we can see in this, I'll share another screen here I have of another image that kind of gives us an idea of what we're looking at. So obviously he hit his head. They have confirmed he hit his head on this. And so when we see this, like how far down that is, and that was the biggest question I had, was how in the world was he able to hit his head down that far? But there's two things that go with this. When people are paralyzed, they tend to have they fall out of their chairs a lot of times. So if you look in the photo of him, he is strapped to a wheelchair. So they already have a tendency to fall forward as it is. So obviously being wheelchair bound, you have weakened bones and muscles, which obviously did. And they kind of allude to this with the femurs broken. I mean, that's the thing that just allowed him to just fall forward even further. And I think that's how he was able to hit his head repeatedly like that. But essentially, they said both femurs were completely broken, which is crazy.
That's wild.
That is crazy. Wow. Unreal.
I mean, it's really unfortunate. I mean,
it's horribly sad.
Yeah, I really didn't expect it to be that bad, but the fact that they found no criminality, no intent for criminal mischief or criminal behavior, that really doesn't surprise me. I mean, this is a multi-billion-dollar company. They have no motive or no incentive to violate safety protocol. I mean, Mack Roller Coasters is a global roller coaster manufacturer, which probably sets the bar when it comes to safety protocol, or at least is playing the game.
Right.
So where there'd be any criminal intent, I mean, again, this is what they were looking for, is criminal intent. They could still be sued for a lawsuit or for a settlement. There could still be a settlement that comes out of this, but any criminal motivation has been completely ruled out. But again, that was expected. What wasn't expected was the femurs.
Oh,
yeah.
Lord. Yeah,
that's pretty violent.
Yeah, the description there, when I was reading that, I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I'm not surprised by the amount of blood. If somebody is passing away from blunt force trauma, like, there's going to be a lot of blood, is one assumption you have. But yeah, the femur thing. And then I was just sitting there trying to visualize it, like being all the way back. Like, and that's the only thing. Like, they had to have, I don't even want to, in my head when I'm talking, I don't want to describe what I'm thinking in my head may have been the scene. All I will say is that is a horrific scene. Which I do think points to, and this makes sense as to why Universal updated the ride signage after the fact of this. They made that little statement about don't ride certain attractions if you have weakened bones or muscles. And I think obviously from this is what they're talking about, because I think they probably pretty, knew early on what was the cause of this. As the state officials and Universal had said really early on that there was no fault at Universal. The ride operated as it was supposed to. They reopened it a couple weeks later without making any changes to the ride itself. So Universal is operating from a standpoint of, we didn't do anything wrong on here. I think simply, he didn't heed the ride warnings. He rode this, and unfortunately, this was the outcome. But yeah, those details there, and I feel horrible. Like, his girlfriend sitting next to him, and like, just imagine riding next to somebody that you love, and you see something horrific happen, and you just can't do anything. Like, that is the stuff of nightmares.
Yeah. And I think the unforeseen equation here is that you can have all the safety protocol working perfectly, but if you have somebody with a medical condition, where this woman here, again, Zavala has, he was a paraplegic, but being a paraplegic doesn't mean, if you have the right safety equipment and the person is strapped in safely, if you're a paraplegic, there are other medical circumstances that are going on as a byproduct of paraplegia. You have now spinal stenosis, you have osteoporosis, because you're not utilizing these muscles, you're not utilizing these bones. That's why his femurs broke. I mean, I don't know if they were impacted or if it's just due to just sheer compression. Yeah. And if your femurs are breaking from sheer compression, you got a lot more going on there than just paraplegia. I mean, you probably have calcium deficiency, stenosis, again, all the things that just listed. But as a ride operator, you don't have the time to account for all these things. You're not a medical expert. No, and so this is why these companies train these employees to just simply say, look, if you can't get on the ride by yourself or with a family member helping you, we can't not let you on the ride. Simple as that. And I understand the additional language that was put into the warning sign, because again, there are like secondary and tertiary effects of some of these medical conditions that even the ride, or that the person that's trying to get on the ride maybe doesn't take into consideration themselves.
Right.
And of course, at the end of the day, it's that person's job to determine whether getting on this ride is going to be safe for them or not. It's not the job of Universal Studios or Disney or Six Flags. But this is a takeaway I didn't expect, these like secondary and tertiary medical conditions out of paraplegia, because I haven't heard that discussed yet, but the femur thing really made me think about this from an angle, from a light that I didn't before.
Yeah. Oh, and there were, go ahead, Conductor. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that.
Oh, no. I was just going to agree with Slimer. It's something where I kind of thought, thinking in my head how this is going to play out, but I think it was Kiki and Luca right at the beginning of the chat was saying that there's a reason why Ben Crump's been silent, and Slimer made a great point. Maybe there was some type of lawsuit filed and it's already been settled. That's why we haven't heard from Ben Crump. And then just listening to those details, like you said, Jared, through the article about the femurs, and then just the other details we already knew about from reports and whatnot. It's just absolutely gruesome to hear all that. And I want to ask you two gentlemen, when Stardust Racers reopened, I don't know if either one of you went to Epic or you went to any of the Universal parks out there initially after. And if you guys did go, or if you had friends go, if you guys heard any type of backlash about that wording, because Slimer makes a great point. The way they worded the new term, language on these warning signs, I can only imagine the first couple weeks, there was a lot of backlash and confusion, and a lot of people that are disabled that want to go on these attractions and that were denied in the process. They probably were not too happy about it, especially if they were coming from out of town, out of state, out of country to come to any of these parks and have to face that issue.
Yeah, I don't have a disability, so there was nothing that affected me, but I did hear from people that were really frustrated because like Forbidden Journey now falls under this category of you have to be able to physically walk from your wheelchair to the ride vehicle, which didn't used to be the case. So there's a lot of people that since this incident, there's more things that they're not able to ride off of this. And I get it. That sucks. But at the same time, I see Universal's, perspective here where they're going, we can't have a repeat of this happening here. We can't take a risk on this stuff. So on certain attractions, essentially, if you can't walk, meaning if you are like a paralyzed person or you can't do it on your own, they're just not going to take that risk. So there has been a little bit of backlash, but I think people obviously understand for the most part why Universal would make those rule changes given the incident here. So it hasn't been like people are just rioting, but there have been people that have been pretty disappointed by it.
Well, see, it's interesting because when I talk about the signage and the rewording of that signage to now update new guidelines for safety, because we're only out here on the West Coast, we're only a couple months away from this massive, intimate roller coaster opening, which is it's going to be like Velocicoaster type thrill and everything about it. And I'm very curious to see if those same warning signs that obviously Stardust Racers has, other roller coasters in Orlando have at the Universal parks. I'm very curious to see if they're going to have that type of signage here on the West Coast, and I cannot see why not. I would
bet you do. I don't see any way that they would only have that in Orlando, personally speaking. But
sure,
yeah. I mean, I think it's just one of these things. It's such a freak thing with this thing. Like for the most part, like you think about the millions of people that have ridden roller coasters. Velocicoaster is it's more intense, more than likely than Stardust Racers is. And this just one incident happens here, and all it takes is one time to kind of just change all this stuff. But the report, I mean, I agree. I was not expecting that report to be that vivid in terms of the picture it was painting. And I did speak to some team members that work at Stardust Racers. They weren't there that evening when this happened, but they do work at Stardust Racers, and they were saying that the people involved were very, very shook up. Like, post-traumatic, like literally having post-traumatic stress, which I can like hearing this description, I completely understand. And like when they were saying too about it seemed as some of the employees were like froze up. That also is completely understandable, given you've got a lot of 20-some-odd-year-old people working this ride.
Right.
You get trained on something, but like being trained on something versus something like happening in real time. I mean, there is and I'm sure Slimer, you have probably seen it, given being in the military, but like sometimes people just freeze. Like when something happens, it's almost like it just overloads the brain. I've seen people do it where they just all of a sudden, it doesn't matter how much training you're given. It's just like they don't know what to do. And I can totally imagine a situation like that happening on this ride.
It takes a lot of muscle memory or retention to overcome the fight or flight response. And if you're not repeating a standard operating procedure or a TTP, right, then you're not going to be overcome that inherent response when that thing happens, right? Very much so, like if you're training for fighting or if you're training for football or any sport that's athletic, there's a certain amount of repetition that is required of doing the same thing over and over and over again, so that you rewire your brain. So when that thing happens, you're not even thinking about how you're going to respond. You just automatically respond. I think Bruce Lee said, if you want to perfect a side kick, it requires, 10,000 kicks. Okay. Right. So these crew are not trained to do any of that. They're not medical specialists. They're college kids. If that, maybe they're taking a year off between high school and college, man, 21, 22, 25 years old sometimes. And the last thing they expect is to have to provide medical care to a guest getting off of a roller coaster, which is one of the safest things you can do in America, really. And that's why this thing is such a high profile incident, is because it never happens. The reason that, the reason that we don't talk about auto accidents is because there's 35,000 a year. So it's expected, but this is a high profile incident just due to its rarity. But again, I mean, I can't imagine having to deal with this as a ride operator, and they don't want to, they're there because this is an easy job, right?
Sure.
It's not, but it's not, but
well, it's also one thing if somebody, and it does happen, like people have a heart attack on a roller coaster. It's one thing if somebody comes into a station and they're having a medical issue. That's something where most people can see that and try and get some people help and things like that. But I could see, I'm imagining from the descriptions of this whole thing that whenever they pulled into the station, that this was a horror scene with the amount of blood they were talking about and all this. And that's the part where I could just see like, what in the world do we do? Like, right. And luckily it sounded from what they said in the report, at the same time they lifted the lap bars, that is when the paramedics showed up. So they had paramedics on scene. They obviously had that doctor there. So he got attention very quickly. But yeah, that little part where they said that the team members were frozen, I was like, yeah, I could definitely see that in that situation. And I don't fault them for it because, again, unless you're like a soldier or an EMT yourself and you've seen this multiple times, there's no way to prepare for that. Like you're just not going to be ready for it.
And even from a legal perspective, you could be liable if you don't have any medical training, if you have no certified medical training and you're a ride operator and you touch this guest who has been injured on one of your employees' rides, you could cause injury to that guest and they can make you liable for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And so from a legal perspective, you are actually better not providing any assistance.
Yeah.
Yep. Sadly, that is very true.
Yeah.
That is the truth. And to kind of tie on what Slimer was saying, I personally, for me, I could not even begin to describe what, trauma those ride operators on that day for Stardust is probably still dealing with, and probably will always permanently be imprinted in their mind for decades to come, if not for the rest of their lives. So I can't even imagine that. And then for Kevin's family, what a worse time for something like that, or for anyone's family to have something like that happen, because we all know it's the holiday season. It's the time to, be with your families, to spend time with each other, to kind of celebrate a happy time. And I cannot even begin to imagine what his family is going through right now. Just the loss, the having Kevin not there. I can't even begin to understand that. And then to Slimer's point as well, roller coasters compared to driving a car on a freeway and maybe going 75, 80 to maybe even flying a plane. You know, roller coasters seem the less likely for something to happen and the less dangerous. So it just,
Yeah, I think the actual stat is like your chances of dying on a roller coaster like 1 in 19 million or something. It's something extremely, extremely rare.
yeah.
Which I think, again, well, a couple of things we do know from this. The claim by Ben Crump that a Universal team member helped him onto the attraction, that was nowhere in the report. So I'm going to assume that that wasn't true. And I never believed that to be true. So it doesn't sound like that's the case. And obviously here, when you're talking about the broken femur, and they were contending that the pre-existing condition that he had did not lead to his death, I think clearly that is, it's going to be hard to argue that. I suppose there could still be a lawsuit, but what's interesting is we didn't see an injunction filed whenever Universal reopened Stardust Racers. This report came out last night, and there has not been anything that I have heard from Ben Crump. And I know that he has moved on to other cases because people, you might call him an ambulance chaser of sorts. So either whatever strategy they had about this didn't work and they've given up on it, or and I think if there was a lawsuit that would have been publicized, but there could have been a payout from Universal to the family. That is definitely possible. That may just not have been publicly announced. I would assume at this point, with as much noise as Ben Crump made, unless there was a payout, I would be surprised if he did not file some sort of lawsuit, just at the very least to say that they tried.
I can definitely see that. I think Ben Crump's whole whole perspective on it was he was there to help the family. A lot of us didn't think so. Like you said, Jared, total ambulance chaser, and he was creating a lot of hysteria and a lot of drama on top of what happened. So I don't think that was beneficial to not only Kevin's family and Kevin's life, but just the whole aspect of the situation. I kind of felt like he was making the situation worse than it already is. And the mere fact that he was saying, oh yeah, like you said, a Universal team member was helped Kevin onto the ride. Well, if that was the case, where was the video? Then you had the injunction, like you said. If he was so concerned about getting his experts that were currently on another case in another state at the time, but were planning to inspect Stardust Racers, then why didn't he file an injunction? Then you had some other aspects of it. So in all respect, his goal was to possibly get a settlement for the family, which I'm sure he did, but I don't think the way he did it was respectful to the family, to Kevin's memory, to everyone that is a coaster enthusiast or a theme park enthusiast like us. So I don't see the way he did it was the proper way. He shouldn't have done it in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely trying to cause chaos, and just he was doing weekly press conferences blasting Universal, saying they were running unsafe attractions, that this thing was a death trap, that there were more people coming forward. And so all of a sudden, once they reopened Stardust Racers, like those just came to an end, which is weird because I really figured even if the whole strategy was to get Universal to pay out and they hadn't done so yet, I really would have figured he would have kept going until it either Universal was forced to say, hey, knock it off, or something else happened. But which leads me to think that there may have been in some sort of settlement that was just made kind of privately, because there hasn't been anything from him, like at all, which is very rare for him. And if there's not a lawsuit that's filed within a week or so of this, I'm just going to assume that they're not going to file a lawsuit. Would be my guess, because I mean, I don't know if you have a timeline in which you have to, but
or like I said, Jared, they probably filed a lawsuit, but it was settled privately and quickly.
Yeah.
where it didn't make the public view. There's
I-
always that possibility.
Well, and Universal would have the motivation. I mean, if Ben Crump's out here blasting you, even if it's a lie, you don't like that. Plus, you've got this whole situation, which I'm sure even people, and I do know there were some team members that reached out to me that said that they knew people that were on the team that designed Stardust Racers. And
Sure.
a lot of them were very upset because they're like, did we design something that got somebody killed? Like, was it our fault? And there was like, so, you think of it as a multi-billion-dollar corporation, which it is, but it's comprised of people who do care, who do want to do their job. So, I can imagine a situation where, they just feel terrible about this and put out some sort of settlement. So I think that's a very plausible scenario that did happen. But I won't be upset at all if we never talk about this again, to be quite honest, because it's not a fun topic. But we do have some closure here on this, I suppose. And you guys have any final thoughts on this before we move on to talk about something more fun?
Well, we just got a super chat from Kiki and Luca. He sent one before thanking or congratulating Slimer on his new channel. So I want to shout out to Kiki and Luca for that super chat. He also did another super chat. He said, on a happier topic, Cane's, KFC, or Chick-fil-A. Jared, you go first.
So I've never had Cane's. I have had, I like Chick-fil-A, but the one I was telling you guys that I tried when I was back in Missouri that was insanely good was what I said was called Mr. Magoo's.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it is? It's something Magoo's. They used a tenderloin. Delicious. It was the best chicken tenders that I have ever had. So I would say that much. But if you're out of those three right there, I would say Chick-fil-A, which I did have a frosted coffee with cookie pieces inside of it. It's really good.
Sure.
I'm gonna have to go with well, first and foremost, I just want to wrap up this whole thing. I'm glad we have closure on it because this is the topic that I never want to revisit again.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go with Cane's.
Ah, there we go. There we go. Now you're calm.
Zaxby's. I've never had Zaxby's though. I've seen Zaxby's that popped up around me. Is Zaxby's pretty good?
They're all right.
Yeah.
They're all right. Cane's is more elevated, and but I'll be honest, I'm gonna go ahead and throw in a wild one here. Dave's hot chicken is better than all this.
Yes.
I've never had that either.
I actually tried Dave's probably about 6 months ago, and I was not disappointed.
Yeah, Dave's is awesome.
So
it's got a little bit of the spice.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So to answer Kiki and Luca's question, if I had to rate the three, I would probably go Cane's, Chick-fil-A, KFC. Because don't get me wrong, KFC still stands strong, but they aren't what they used to be back in the day. So Cane's, Chick-fil-A, KFC for me.
Mm-hmm.
KFC, KFC is kind of like McDonald's for me. When McDonald's like fresh French fries or the burgers are actually like at their peak, they're still really good. It's just the consistency, because like at peak KFC is still good. Like the mashed potatoes and gravy are still good. But the last time I got KFC, that gravy was brown water, and it was the whole meal was nasty. So it would come down to the consistency of it. So I think if it's still at its best, it's still pretty solid. But it's not like I haven't had KFC in probably 4 or 5 years.
I think if we're talking consistency, I would actually put Taco Bell pretty high on the list. I
completely agree. I think Taco Bell is I love Taco Bell. You can still go. I ate there when I only have Taco Bell when I go to Missouri for whatever reason. But I think I got like 3 burritos, 2 soft tacos, and a drink, and I believe it was like $6.
Hell yeah.
And especially like in this economy, I was like, I'm eating like a king for like $6 here.
And it's good post-workout food. I mean, pure protein.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I used to get it. Me and my brother used to they used to have these chicken burritos. They're like mini ones, are like 99 cents. We used to go get those after workouts. We just order like 20 of them, just go to town. They were great.
Oh yeah.
Although consistency, I would say Chick-fil-A is pretty high.
Yeah. Chick-fil-A, Taco Bell are probably your top 2.
Yeah, like good service, good consistency, I would say.
Yeah, so Brian actually posted in the comments, he's like, I really hope they don't bring Raising Cane's to Universal Orlando. You know what? Since I said on my list, Chick-fil-A is literally right under that. You guys can have a flagship Chick-fil-A in your city walk then.
I mean, I'd be okay
Why
with
not?
that. I would not complain about Raising Cane's. I wouldn't complain about Chick-fil-A. I mean, personally, what I want is that Magoo place to show up, because that thing, if that was near me, it would be a problem for me. It was that good. I ate it twice. I found out about it halfway through our trip, and I had it twice in a matter of like 2 days, and I was like, this is going to be a problem. But shout out to Vinton Solar. What's up, Vinton? Got a $3 super sticker. Appreciate that, Vinton. And I think I saw Vinton say he chose Chick-fil-A, which is, listen, it's hard to argue with Chick-fil-A. Burf90 said no Popeyes. I haven't had Popeyes in a long time. I'm not really sure where Popeyes is right now.
I've had them a couple times, but if I had to do a comparison, I'm sorry. I still think Cane's is I like Cane's better, because I kind of like where Cane's, like, their philosophy came from. Because if you think about it, when you look at Cane's and then the kind of simplified menu they have, and then you look at In-N-Out, it's almost identical. They don't have like 50 items on the menu and all these customizations. It's simple and it's straight to the point.
My reptile brain loves that. So
I'm the same way. And by the way, marketing philosophy, you give people too many choices, they won't make any choice.
Yeah,
like
right.
By the way, did you see the latest In-N-Out burger opened in Tennessee somewhere, and they had 5-hour waits?
I believe that.
By the way, I don't. Is there one coming to Florida? Because if so, we need to go.
I would assume the first one would come to Orlando, and if that's the case, yeah, we're gonna have to go check it out.
Like, I will make a special trip. Just it would be a pilgrimage. I like In-N-Out. I still think Five Guys is a better burger, but In-N-Out is very solid.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I also love how the comments pretty much turned on fire as soon as we started talking about food.
Absolutely. Everybody's hungry on a Friday night, and it's more fun to talk. I mean, honestly, I'd rather talk about food for 3 hours than talk about an unfortunate death on a roller coaster. So yeah, I was happy to have the palate cleanser here. Keegan Lucas said, what do you guys think of El Pollo Loco?
I've never heard of El Pollo Loco. I don't know if that's a South Florida thing, but in South Florida, there used to be this place called Pollo Supremo, which was just off the chain. I mean, it was so good. It was a Cuban chicken grill. Oh my God.
That sounds so good.
It was so good, dude.
Cuban food is underrated.
Way
Cuban
underrated.
Food's pretty solid. I went to a Cuban restaurant one time, and it was this little old Cuban lady that ran it, and they made those little Cuban sandwiches.
Mm-hmm.
It was like one of the best sandwiches I've ever had in my life. And it was not some little old Cuban lady making sandwiches. I'm like, I respect that.
Hell yeah.
I would eat that all the time. Burf90 says their spicy chicken is killer, and the mashed potatoes with Cajun gravy, if you better than the chicken. Are you talking about
I think he's talking about Popeyes.
Ooh, they have Cajun gravy. Sounds really good.
That does sound really good. Interesting.
And Kenneth win with the bad news.
Yeah. Hey, not bad at all. I wonder. I didn't do it obviously because working for Costco, I get a free turkey as an employee every year. But I guess Popeyes did this Cajun, seasoning turkey that they sold at locations. I wonder how that was.
I bet
people enjoyed that.
That sounds pretty dang good. I'm not gonna lie. I've heard of a Cajun turkey before. What's up, Nemo? Nemo says Pizza Hut, the retro one with the janky salad bar and the dive bar bathroom. LML. Dude, I completely agree that they took a national treasure from us, which was old school Pizza Huts. And now they're just we got Pizza Hut last night because our daughter likes Pizza Hut. It's just this little walk-in nothing.
Yeah.
It sucks. I was like,
I remember the old school restaurants, man. I had them here on the West Coast where I'm at, and dude,
Scholastic.
Dude, it was awesome. You sit there, you go in on a Friday night. They had TVs with football and baseball and sports.
Yep. Remember you used to get with the Final Four. They used to have the basketballs.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, you're bringing me back to my childhood, man.
I remember that. I also remember they had a barbecue chicken pizza that was amazing. Like I loved that thing. Oh, now I'm hungry. Brian said, "Oh, bring that here to City Walk." Talking about In-N-Out Burger, dude. If they brought In-N-Out to City Walk,
it'd be like
you wouldn't be able to get into City Walk.
Hell no. Imagine the massive In-N-Out, because they're building a massive location in Las Vegas. Imagine how busy that damn thing is going to be once that opens. So if they opened one of those in City Walk in Orlando, you're absolutely right, dude.
It would.
My boy Kenneth Wayne here. Publix has Boar's Head brand Cajun turkey. It's so good. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Publix chicken is the shiznit.
Oh, Publix chicken is solid. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll take Publix chicken over Popeyes, KFC, Chick-fil-A. I'll take it over Dave's hot chicken. You can't go wrong with Publix, man.
And their subs are pretty good too. They got really good
they're
stuff.
very fresh.
Yeah, he also said CEO said In-N-Out won't come to Florida or the East Coast because their burgers aren't frozen. No distribution center close enough to truck from there.
Oh God! No, God, please, no, no!
Hey,
don't tell me that.
You know what? You know what, Slimer? Shout out to your boy Kenneth. I don't know if there's a location near either Universal or Disney. If there is, I personally, when I'm out there in March and we're staying at the hotel, I will personally order Uber Eats and get that chicken from that location if there's one nearby. I will personally do it to check it out.
It's a good. I think it's a good decision. I like that decision.
Can't go wrong with Publix. Publix will change your life.
Dude, Publix is solid. Although their groceries prices are insane.
Yeah,
But
I only shop there for buy one get one.
Sorry, you go. So the locals, you get BOGOs or you go get some food items. But like if you did like a regular, like if you're just like I need to go grocery shopping, you're paying probably double or triple than what you would pay going just about anywhere else. But
hey, Jared, you know what's funny? The fact that you said BOGO. I haven't heard that terminology since Quiznos was around. Remember that sandwich chain?
You haven't heard BOGO before? Like in that long?
Yeah, I have not heard that terminology, that phrase of wording since I went to a Quiznos 10 years ago.
I remember BOGO from Payless Shoes. That's what I remember BOGOs, because you used to be going there and get BOGO on shoes when you were a kid, and I didn't want those shoes because I wanted the nice shoes. My mom was like, "You're getting these shoes." And I'm like, "Fine."
Man, speaking of nice shoes, or the lack thereof, I remember one year I ended up having to get some LA Gears instead of some Nikes. I was so disappointed. But then when I got to school with the LA Gears, I got hammed, man. People made fun of my shoes for months.
Dude, it was a bad one. And like Shaq's shoes were the same thing. Like he did, which I say kudos to Shaq. He didn't sign those expensive sneaker deals. He said he wanted his shoes to be able to be affordable to like poor kids and things like that.
I remember that, yeah.
So like you would get the Shaqs, but like everybody knew the Shaqs were like cheapy shoes.
Cheap.
Yeah. Which I like. I respect what Shaq was trying to do, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, I get it. But all right, well, let's talk real quick. I got another thing. We'll have a fun little discussion after this next one, but I want to get your guys' thoughts on kind of an interesting. I feel like this is a little bit of a hot button topic for a lot of people. Is the fact that Disney has inked a deal with OpenAI to where Disney is going to invest $1 billion into OpenAI, but also with this deal allows Sora, which is OpenAI's video creation, basically probably the definition of AI slop, where you're going to be able to use Disney IPs in that app. They announced this the other day. Really, the reason the verbiage that Disney has used on this is essentially to say you're going to be able to use your favorite Disney properties for all this stuff you want to create. They're going to implement or have some sort of section of this inside of Disney Plus, where I suppose they're going to pick certain ones from user content to feature on there. But this has been received not the best. I would say a lot of the fans have not been happy about this. A lot of the Hollywood and Actors Guilds and those likes don't like this move either. I'm curious what you guys think about this, given it, and we'll talk maybe more about like AI as a whole, but like where AI is going, the landscape of what this looks like. What are your guys' thoughts on this deal? Do you think this is a terrible thing, or do you kind of understand maybe why Disney made this deal?
Conductor, let me let you go, man. Go ahead.
Oh no, by means, you go ahead. I want to hear what you have to say about this. By all means.
Well, I have a lot of opinions about this, and Jared and I have actually been going back and forth all day in the chats, and I can sit here and talk about this for another hour. But you go ahead and get started, because that'll allow me to like formulate what it is I want. Because I'm going to try to condense my thoughts on this. Otherwise, I can be on here for a very long time.
Okay.
Simon's like, I'm going to give you a thesis.
you make a fair argument. Okay. All right. So I find it interesting that Disney wants to invest this type of money into AI. I think AI, like Jared, was saying with the Hollywood and the Writers Guild and all that issue we had, and then the fact that AI is evolving every single day. And then me and Jared a while back did a video on his channel, because it seems like multiple companies are getting into that AI aspect with robots that you can, and I know Jared can go on for hours as well on this, robots that you can have at home to kind of take care of the day-to-day operations, with chores and,
murder.
Not a lot of abilities yet, because it's still new tech, but just the fact that you can have an iRobot in your house that may kill you one day. Who knows? I'm just speaking my mind, but no, it's interesting to me. They want to spend this type of money now. If the AI is going to be to help backstage operations for these theme parks, on the East Coast, West Coast, internationally, by all means, invest in AI. Make the experience for the Disney guests that much easier to deal with, to experience, to not stress over, and just make operations a lot easier. And I'm not just talking about backstage operations. I'm talking about ride maintenance and so on, so on, so on. But when the problem I have is when you start using AI to replace physical cast members, that's where I have a massive, massive issue, because I think we're getting to a day and age now where people are relying more on technology with the phones, computers, now it's going to be AI, and we're seeing less and less cast members in the parks. And perfect example of this is what's going on out here in Disneyland in Anaheim. They got rid of all the ticket booths, and they have one little section next to Lost and Found outside Disneyland to buy tickets. But they're kind of encouraging a lot of guests to buy the tickets online. And preferably for me, that kind of, it kind of tells me that AI, it has something to do with that. It's kind of sad in a way, because I kind of feel that we're starting to lose that capability of having that human on human interaction. Now it's going to be more like human versus AI, computer, robot technology. And there's nothing wrong with that. But on the other hand, I think people like to interact with another human being and not a robot and not AI, and not, because I can't tell you how many times in the past I've called companies, for customer service, and it takes so much time to deal with the automated system that these companies have that's using AI technology, and you have to request on the phone multiple times, and I mean not just once, not just twice, but multiple times to speak to a live representative and not, you know, some type of computer automated service. So I could get why people are pushing back on AI. It's not something it's not something we're ready for. Even though it's happening, it's not something we're ready for. I personally think. Now, when it comes to Hollywood, you know, eventually at some point, I think whether or not they like it or not, they're going to have to embrace it. Because if you think about it, think about, you know, the production value of movies in the next couple decades that we can see come to the big screen or come to the streaming services by you know, having more of a budget to sit there and kind of make the movie edgier, more exciting, more thrilling than cutting back because they have to pay an actor, a human actor, to be in the movie instead of having an AI character input it into the movie and pay a fraction of the price. I think that's where, you know, Hollywood and AI clash dramatically.
Yeah. Well, to answer one of your questions, and first, I'm gonna have to dip out for like 5 minutes, go tell the kids tonight, and then I'm gonna let Slimer go, and then I'll give my thoughts because I'm curious what Slimer thinks. You're probably gonna see one of the first iterations of AI in terms of they're gonna have people like AI robots talking on the phone. They're already doing it, and in many ways, this will replace call centers. So and you're gonna see this in infrastructure a lot of ways. Before it really comes into the theme park stuff, which it will do that. But Slimer, you go ahead. I will be right back, and then we will pick up on this. I just got to tell the kids good night real quick.
All right, yeah, sounds good. All right, so this deal that Disney inked with OpenAI to bring more than 200 characters to Sora video platform. Well, the first and really important detail about this is that Disney went to OpenAI and paid them $1 billion so that way they can use their platform, but not just their platform, because I think it's a lot more than just their ability to use Sora and a way to secure users from using their IP, which are invaluable to the company, in a way that doesn't violate copyright infringement. And just in case nobody knows, they did file a cease and desist, a lawsuit against Google and Gemini for the very same thing, pretty much the same day or the same week. So they're very much in the process of protecting their IP in what seems to be an overwhelming surge and adaptation of this new technology. And just to put it in perspective for everybody, artificial intelligence is being adapted quicker than the internet and cell phone technology. And it's primarily because of those things that's being adapted exponentially quicker. Without those, it wouldn't be adapted as quick. It wouldn't even exist. So this is just a progression of technology, if you will. But when it comes to Disney securing this deal for Sora, I think there's a couple things that we can take away from this. One, it's not just about Sora. The Sora announcement is kind of Disney's way of saying, look, we're going to be making a deal with a major AI technology company. One of the benefits for you as the consumer is you'll be able to interact with our Disney characters using a Sora platform, which you guys are already familiar with. And you guys can create these, scenarios interacting with Darth Vader, Chewbacca, Elsa, whatever, in a way that you see fit, as long as it meets like the parameters that Disney and OpenAI both agree with. Okay, so there's that. My problem with this as like a pitch to the consumer of a new product is that it's very low effort and very low bar. Okay. I don't know if anybody's hearing this announcement of being able to utilize Sora as a way to create pictures of you with Darth Vader and R2-D2 and saying, wow, this is something that I'm going to be running for or running towards as a product. I don't think there's anybody out there that's saying that. What this seems like to me is like Disney's more interested in securing their IP as much as possible. And then the Sora thing is going to be the way to do that. So this is going to be that mediator technology that allows them to do that. They're also going to be giving their fan base a way to interact with their characters in OpenAI's AI platform, Sora. But then from that, they can also probably extrapolate a lot of data, which is going to be worth a lot of money for the company. And that data is going to be in the form of what is it that people are envisioning themselves doing with these characters when they type in these prompts. So these prompts are data, and they can utilize that for more targeted marketing. They can use that to influence how they're going to come up with new ideas for the parks, just based off of aggregate information. And this is going to save the company a lot of money when it comes to future developments and plans and marketing and things like this, which could probably, and I expect this to result in savings millions of dollars per quarter or per month, which is probably why the shareholders responded so positively with this announcement, because on the day of the announcement, the stocks spiked, which is good. So there's certainly some cost benefit analysis there's a cost benefit being done, or there's a cost benefit that is built into this adaptation into artificial intelligence into Disney's overall infrastructure. But what that looks like, obviously, we don't know yet. I don't even think Disney has a full grasp on this. And that's part of the problem with an adaptation for new technology, is that there are a lot of known knowns, but there's also a lot of known unknowns, and you also have unknown unknowns as well. So known unknowns are like, we know that there are things that are going to be a byproduct of adapting this technology that we don't know, but when they present themselves, we're going to try to solve these problems as they go. And that's just an unfortunate byproduct of new tech. Same thing happened with the internet, cell phones, right? Like, nobody anticipated viruses to be a thing. And then they became a thing. And then we've been dealing with that as we go. And as technology evolves, we come up with new antiviruses and new anti-malware, and it goes back and forth forever and ever and ever for, into perpetuity. But with AI, Disney, let me back up a little bit. And I think that Disney really had no choice. So historically, you just can't go against new tech. History has proven that if you go against new tech, you're going to lose. And in the speed of today's Silicon Valley, for Disney to stand by the wayside and see how this AI thing was going to go by other companies adapting it before they try to make any sort of ethical decision before jumping into the water with artificial intelligence, they would easily be left behind. Okay. They don't have the luxury. Nobody has the luxury of waiting to see what happens when a company adapts artificial intelligence, especially in the entertainment space, before going in head first and then making all the ethical and moral alignments as you go. This we know this because this is what happened to Kodak when they didn't adapt digital photography. This is what happened to companies when they didn't adapt the internet and things like email. This is what happened when the music industry waited to or pushed back against things like Napster. So this is just all part of the evolution of technology. And unfortunately, these companies don't have the ability to just wait to see what happens. So, much like trying to figure out what to do with a plane being built in mid-flight, Disney is going to have to figure this out as they go. And we can be upset about the fact that they've made this deal, but the reality is they don't have a choice but to make this deal with an artificial intelligence company and then try to maximize this technology for both the company and the consumer as they go. And this is going to be a process that's going to be in development for many, 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 many years, because we're still only in the baby steps of artificial intelligence. And as this thing evolves, companies are going to have to evolve with it. The worst decision they could have made is not adapting artificial intelligence. I think that would have been the worst case scenario.
No, by far, and I couldn't agree more with that. You know, obviously, just AI is just the newest tech coming into the world, and trying, like you said, trying to fight it is just a losing battle, and it's not beneficial at all. My only aspect is, because you said it perfectly in what you said. You know, helping with the company, you know, financially, and helping with future projects and whatnot. My only thing to that is spending the money they did to reach an agreement with the open AI company and spending $1 billion to invest. First of all, my thing is, how is that going to affect current projects around the Disney company when it comes to the studio side and also the experience side? I'm talking the theme parks, cruise lines, and stuff like that. And then again, you know, if they start incorporating the AI aspect behind the scenes that we as a consumer cannot see, but then again we feel it when we're in the park, and the experience goes a lot smoother because of AI technology, I'm okay with that. My only angle on this was, and someone said it on my live stream a week or 2 weeks ago, they said the last thing we want is less human on human interaction, meaning cast members, and dealing with AI technology robots. They don't want that. I don't want that, because I still feel that human on human interaction is extremely important, you know, for the Disney company, for the customer service industry. But if it's going to help with future developments for new experiences that come to the parks, come to the cruise lines, help with the studio side of the Walt Disney Company, I'm all for it. But when they start, you know, trickling in these AI programs and whatnot, and then you're seeing less and less cast members, that's where I have a problem. Because like you said just a minute ago, AI is still in the baby stages. So it would be premature for the Walt Disney Company to say, look, we spent $1 billion invested in OpenAI to, you know, help with the company on both sides of the aisle. But in the meantime, because we spent that much and we're going to incorporate it into our parks, we're going to get rid of more and more cast members because we just can't afford to keep their wages and justify spending $1 billion into this AI company, unless the Walt Disney Company has a way of investing this money, but they're going to sprawl it out through many financial quarters to justify it.
So I think I know Slimer's taking this. One thing I'll tell you is they will use AI in the theme parks. Universal's already talked about this, and there's companies popping up to use it for maintenance, of essentially predicting whenever certain rides are going to need certain maintenance things. So you're in the early stages of that. I think you really do see it in the theme park side. You may already have it. I mean, it's probably already in place on some level when you're talking about back-end functions. I mean, my sister-in-law runs HR for a mid-level Budweiser distributor. They're already using AI all through that company. And you're talking a mid-tier company, and she's just dabbling in this stuff. So I can only imagine, even if Disney wasn't before with this investment, they're going to be using a lot of AI when it comes to, you know, crunching numbers, repetitive tasks, things like that. That's where a lot of businesses will use this. In fact, I do have experience. I help businesses set this stuff up from time to time. So you're already seeing a lot of just even local businesses looking to use this stuff. So, excuse me. So Disney undoubtedly is going to do it. I think on the broader topic of AI, I liken this, and I talk about in the video I made. It's like you're on a beach and there's a wave coming at you, and you can fight it, but more than likely, you're going to lose this battle because AI is coming just like the internet was coming. And what that looks like in the future is still up for, we don't know. It's up for interpretation. But I think the logic here is that instead of fighting it and losing, you try and ride the wave and you steer AI into a direction that you would like it to go. And I think if you don't do that, especially Disney, you run the risk of your IP is already being used like out there. So if you don't do this, you know, you lose out on it. Like any opportunity to monetize it to creators and such like that. So I think this is their attempt to do it. But I think the messaging around this is not good. I think the messaging here of you can make AI slop with our IPs. I don't think anybody really wants that. Like, who is really asking to be able to go to Disney Plus and watch AI slop? I think obviously this is for future investments that they're just trying to mask as giving fans the ability to create content. And I don't like the messaging around that, but I understand why they're doing this, because if they don't do this, they will get left behind, as every single company and country out there is going to use AI.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, and the messaging is this. The messaging needs to be simplified because most people, everybody in the chat here is very interested in this because they're interested in things like Hollywood deals, pop culture, technology, ride technology. Like everybody here has pretty much the same modality when it comes to processing a lot of this stuff. But the general audience, when they say that a major company is adopting artificial intelligence, they almost get a sense of fear because they don't understand what the implications are. Sure. And that's normal, right? It's very normal for people to have fears, questions about the adaptation of new technology because it's not understood. We fear things that we don't understand. Disney's job as a PR, as a company that has to have very strong PR with his audience because they are the largest entertainment company in the world, they need to make it very digestible for both their shareholder and anybody that has the company within their line of sight, whether they're, you know, skeptics, critics, lovers of the company, and their PR needs to be very clear and direct and says, hey, look, here's why we need to adopt artificial intelligence. And I love the analogy you give. The wave analogy, I think, is a perfect metaphor. But one thing that I think wasn't communicated was the fact that things like OpenAI's Sora, any sort of generative AI, has an economy of scale that traditional Hollywood just cannot compete with. Like the ability for a creator to jump into one of these Gen AI programs and create whole worlds. The cost that is associated with that when you use traditional methods is a non-compete. It's a non-sequitur. And this is the technology that Disney's really invested in. But but furthermore, what I think that's going to do, and this is maybe a part of a longer conversation, is that it could possibly get Disney out of the duplicative nature of sequel syndrome. And by that I mean, if you give creators better tools and more tools to create new worlds at an economy of scale that is lower than what is currently available right now, then you have you open up the potential for new ideas to come into fruition and potentially have new IPs that wouldn't have been created otherwise because of things like cost associated with it. The main reason we see sequels over and over and over again and have been for the last 30 years is because financially it's a safe bet for the studios just to release another Jurassic Park, to release another Toy Story, to release another, right? Go on and on and on. But until we can do things, implement new ideas affordably, you're going to see the replication process continue in Hollywood for the next decade or two or three. And it's not that they want to make the same Toy Stories over and over and over again, but it's just that it's just like in biology. If replicating this thing works, they're going to continue to do it and throw away everything that doesn't. And it's almost like this biological replicational process has sort of imprinted itself into Hollywood and how they make decisions as to what gets made and what gets put out and what doesn't. Obviously, there is a financial, qualitative, and quantitative aspect to it. The consumer tells them, "Hey, this is what we want." It's in the form of money, and now that's good, right? Like we have to have a standard we have to have some kind of a measuring tool to determine, or the studios rather have to have a measuring tool to determine what it is that gets done, gets put out. But the problem is they've fallen into this duplicative nature, which essentially is just ruining art, is ruining Hollywood. And if artificial intelligence can be harnessed to get us out of that, then let's see what we can do with that.
Yeah, I think I've seen in the chat too, like a lot of people are again. I mean, I get it. Like it's a new technology. There's a lot of people that don't want it to be utilized. But the reality of it is, when you look at emerging technologies, there's always going to be disruption, and there's definitely going to be disruption. And don't get it twisted, and I don't like this, but AI is going to cost jobs. It is. It's going to make things more efficient. That's one of those things where Disney's not saying that's what's going to happen, but it will happen. And that's just inevitable of every company doing that. So I like to use the example of, say, Kodak. Kodak did not adapt to digital cameras because of the film side of things. They thought that it was going to hurt their film sales of what they sell on cameras. That turned out to be a really, really bad move by Kodak. So Disney could fight this. And I think Disney gets the most scrutiny out of any company that will use AI, even though all of them are and will continue to use AI. And there's probably ways in which they're using it right now that we don't even know. So if you resist this, and in my opinion, I do think it would be a losing battle. I don't think you're going to win this battle, as people are already using Disney IPs all over the place for stuff. So there's also this idea of, if people look at AI and they say it's nothing but bad, we don't want anything to do with it, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because the only people that will be using AI are people who would be doing it for destructive reasons. People that would be doing bad things with it, versus people that are using it, trying to steer it in a positive direction. So this is all new. We don't know how this is all going to turn out. This is, again, a brand new technology. Who knows what these implications will be? But I think by getting involved with it, you do have a stake in it. You're trying to control it to a degree. Obviously, they want to use the tech around it. But if you sit on the sidelines of this, it's sort of like Napster and music. Like, you can go sue people. Yeah, you're going to win some lawsuits, but overall, you're going to lose that battle. You might win some battles, but you're going to lose that war. And I think the way that this is going is, there's going to be a lot of backlash to this because people are just against it. But as this continues to go on, I think if you're just a company that just stands against this, and I think this is what Disney's looking at, and like a lot of companies are looking at, is you are going to get left behind, as well as countries. This is not only your business doing this, it's every country in the world is doing this. So it doesn't necessarily mean that Disney is going to create AI slop, or other companies. Who knows what they end up using with it? But I do think getting involved with it is the thinking here, trying to steer it. But there's lots of questions, and Lucas and Disney brought up a point about people making videos where, like, Walt Disney, or who else did he use as the example? I'm losing my mind here. Stanley saying things that they normally wouldn't have said. Like, they'll have to put in guardrails for it and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But it's a messy thing. But I think ultimately, if you set this out, you are allowing whatever AI does. AI is going to affect you whether you're involved with it or you're not. So if you just set this out, you are just at the whims of whatever becomes AI, versus trying to at least somewhat have an impact on where it goes. So I can understand the thinking of it. I just think Disney would be better to communicate that. And, it's a very, like, I don't think Bob Iger fully understands AI. I don't really think anybody does. That's really, even these countries and these businesses that are investing billions of dollars, they don't understand it completely, but they're investing all this money into it. I think that is undoubtedly true. But I think they're just trying to compete in a world where they don't even know how this is going to affect them. It's all very messy. I will completely concede that. Real quick here, we got Kiki and Luca for a 5. Thank you, Kiki and Luca. Says, I've read Netflix wants WB to get IP and make AI Harry Potter, AI Batman shows for cheap and put those shows on their platform in the future. I mean, I haven't heard that specifically, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I think that's the question of AI is like, what will the audience accept? Like, you have the business side of AI, which was undoubtedly going to continue to grow. But how do audiences react to AI in the entertainment? I do think is a legitimate question, because if audiences reject it, they're not going to be able to just use AI if audiences don't show up for it because they don't want it. I do think that is a legitimate question going into the future of like animation side, like all that stuff. How will audiences accept it or reject that? I do think is a legitimate question, but there's still going to be that tech that's used on the customer service side, on the repetitive business end of things. Like, you're going to be using it on some level. I think the biggest question is in entertainment. And I understand that's where the Actors Guild's against this, and a lot of other people in Hollywood are against this. I think that is the most messy situation when you're talking about art and entertainment, for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's something that I think it warrants a discussion. It warrants a long discussion, because right now I think the big concern with generative AI is that it doesn't resonate with people, right? There's no resonance because you can't relate to it. The human experience is so abstract and weird, and it's so artificial that in terms of a medium for trying to convey the human experience and the truth that we can get from watching a film, like let's say Saving Private Ryan or Schindler's List, it doesn't exist there, right? So to call it equivalent to a film or a television series which has resonance and evokes the human experience through the actor's portrayal of characters, until artificial intelligence is able to get to that level, people are not going to resonate with AI. And so that's a conversation that needs to be had. Like, if generative AI is going to be something that we're going to do, then generative AI creators and non-generative AI creators need to establish objective standards of what objectively good generative AI content is. Because without those standards, one, you don't have anything to shoot for. And then two, what are we doing, right? And this is why we have things like the Golden Globes and the Oscars and critics and general audience scores, right? We have different measuring sticks across film and music, and we can say, hey, look, like, this is objectively good. This is something that you can strive for. This is an objectively good director. But we don't have any of that with generative AI because it hasn't been around long enough. I mean, we're like in the Buster Keaton era of filmmaking for AI. You know, like you can't say that Buster Keaton movies, I mean, as good as they were for the time in 1908 or whatever, for as good as they were at the time, you can't say that that's like the apex of film. It's not going to grow anything beyond that. We're going to judge it explicitly based off of those films and disregard everything that came the 100 years after that because this is what it was then. Obviously not. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But there needs to be a larger philosophical question as to, like, how are we gonna judge good and bad AI content? Because obviously right now a lot of it's bad. Some of it's good. But there needs to be a guild that comes together and a body of creators, and they need established standards, because without standards, generative AI is just going to be slop. But I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't find that to be the case.
I actually think one of the things you will see, and before we go on, just real quick, we got a $20 from Daniel Alpine, 1994. Thank you very much. Said that's kind of news that has made me deeply resent this broken world. Screw corporate greed. Now I'm stuck with old film and TV that's not AI slop, but I'll suffer nostalgia depression. I give up on life. Well, first off, don't give up on life. I understand the sentiment there. I would say we're in the early stages of this, and like the stuff you were saying about is it objectively good? I think these are conversations that need to be had. And I think, again, if you are able to be involved in those conversations and like it by becoming, like, let's say Disney is now part of OpenAI, they now have a seat at that table to try and steer it in a direction that does uphold qualities and things. I think if you don't get involved in this, again, you're just sitting on the outside and the whims of this will just be imposed on you. And so I do think there is a need, and eventually there will be something that pops up to where there's sort of a, they probably have labels about what's AI and certain levels of this. But I think when you look at this, like human nature always tends to look at the negatives of things. That's kind of how we're wired. There will be positives out of AI. I mean, again, you talk about a small studio, and somebody, I think Remy D even said, there's some really good, even like Star Wars AI films that are out now that people have created. So you're going to be able to have individual creators and smaller studios make entertainment that they normally would not have been able to make that could compete with Hollywood. So if you're talking about a decentralized entertainment environment, I think that is a possibility of where you'll have more choices. The real question I just go back to is the audience accepting AI or not. Now, I could see audiences not accepting AI from major studios, but let's say Slimer, you made some short film using AI. I could see a lot of people being like, oh, that's really cool. I like that. And I think it may depend on who it comes from. But it's one of these topics, like there's a lot of, obviously people have a lot of opinions, and we're just in the very beginning stages of all of this. So
yeah,
you can kind of look at this, what it'll be like. But I think when you're talking about emerging technologies, you can make an argument, though, as quickly as AI is moving, Disney might already be too late to really steer this very much. But the fact that they had lawsuits about this, they're now getting involved in this. At least I think this is going to set a blueprint. You're going to see other companies do the same thing. Probably with some of them will go with Google Gemini. Some are going to go with another company. I think it's ultimately going to be up to the consumer about what is accepted in entertainment when it comes to AI. But I can agree. Like, I don't like the idea. Like, I don't think it helps the Disney brand by you being able to go into Sora and make, Buzz Lightyear hang out with Darth Vader. Like, these are just like silly meme things that people will use it for. So I don't really think the audiences want that. But I think it will. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that Disney's going to fire all their animators. They'll probably still have animators, but use AI to help rendering things and programs that they run and stuff like that. So it doesn't necessarily mean that there's just going to be AI slop for entertainment. But I think companies like Netflix, like Kiki and Luca brought that up. I think it was Kiki and Luca or Lucas and Disney. They're going to try stuff. I could see Netflix being a company that definitely tries to use AI to see, excuse me, to see what people will accept and what they won't. And that part I do find very interesting, what people will accept, what they won't. Give me a second. Sorry, all of a sudden I'm choking.
Whatever you ate, your body's not accepting it.
Apparently. All of a sudden my throat got dry. When you talk a lot, your throat just gets dry. But
yeah,
no, it's a very interesting conversation that, I mean, I don't have the answer for it. And I don't think Bob Iger has the answer for it. And I don't think anybody has the answer of any of this stuff. And it's a scary proposition to say that you have billions. At this point, you have trillions of dollars that are dumping into AI. And nobody really knows exactly what this is going to look like, say, even 5 years.
Yeah.
And I think that is, like, if you're Hollywood, rightfully so, to be concerned about this. And lots of businesses and different, enterprises are going to be affected by this. And so I do think it makes a lot of people nervous. But I think, like I said, I think if you just set it out and say we're not going to use it, you're kind of sealing your own fate at that point, versus at least trying to be involved and steer it in a direction that you would like. I understand where they're coming from. I understand why other companies would do it. There's just a lot of questions about it. Undoubtedly.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Look, Disney did the cost benefit. Every company has done the cost benefit analysis, and there would be more costs associated with not adapting AI than adopting it at this point.
Think about from the studio side. If you have Illumination's using AI to create movies and animation, and Disney says we're not going to do that.
Right.
How many more movies are they going to be able to release from Illuminations? Let's say that is accepted.
Yeah.
And Disney can make half of that. I mean, that is the stuff you're talking about, is the efficiency of many of these things. Right. And I think that's a legitimate economic thing they're looking at. in trying to figure out how to make all this work.
Absolutely, because you're trying to maximize throughput at a lower cost, and if this thing is gonna maximize your economy of scale in ways that we have never seen before, then you're gonna want to optimize throughput so that way you have the most positive effect on not just your the amount of money you potentially produce to the movie theaters, but in also unknown variables like licensing rights with Netflix later on down the road when it goes to PVOD, merchandising, all the back end stuff that happens after a movie comes out of movie, the pop culture, right? The pop culture impact. So there are secondary, tertiary implications of being able to have a higher throughput at a better economy of scale when it comes to making content using generative AI. But like you said, resonance has to be a critical. It's a fundamental ingredient for this thing working. If it doesn't, then they drop it like a bad habit.
Yep. No, that's a very good point. We got a couple super chats here. We got Kiki and Luca for 5. Thank you, Kiki and Luca. It says human decisions are removed from strategic defense. Skynet begins to learn at a geometric rate. It becomes self-aware. I mean, that is definitely like handing AI the keys to like decision making. I can say undoubtedly at this point, like we've seen enough evidence of like from movies. I don't think that's a good idea in any circumstance. I think that is a bad road to go down. I do think AI needs to be coupled with human oversight and basically all facets of whatever it does. And I think a responsible way to do it is to do that part. So that's why I don't think it will remove all jobs, but it will impact jobs undoubtedly. But yeah, let's not have Skynet. I completely agree.
But I do love this though. I love Kiki and Luca, going outside the box with the whole Skynet thing. I love that.
Oh, that was science fiction back in the 90s, which is now potentially coming to reality, which is the scary part. Like we've all seen this play out in movies and are like, this never really ends good to allow like an AI, and they didn't call it AI during Terminator, but like that's what Skynet essentially is. It was like an AI system that made decisions. It's not even that far-fetched anymore, which is the crazy part. That's kind of where we're at. We also have Daniel Alpine for a $49.99, a 50. Thank you, Daniel. Says it's bad enough that I miss Disney 2D. Now hundreds of jobs will be lost to a machine that doesn't know to put passion and feeling into art. Now my faith in God is affected because I pray that the AI apocalypse won't happen, but it's happening. I would say I'm one of these people. Don't ever get black-pilled on things. Like there's definitely sides to this that you talk about. Art is a extension of humans. And I think that is something that there are some people that say that AI will never be able to do that. I mean, there are questions about like how far can you really take AI video and art, considering it doesn't create anything new. It's using inputs. I think a scenario where, language learning models, you create your own, which I'm sure all these companies are doing, can help you become more efficient in different aspects of your business. But I think at this point, art is still something that is done by artists. And I think that needs to be something like, if Disney's getting into this for the reasons being, and let's just give them the benefit of the doubt that they're saying, hey, we see where this is going. We want to be involved in this because we're scared of where this is going to go if we don't. And they try and implement a system to where say, hey, we still want art to be by artists and still adopting this technology. Like there are ways in which it can be utilized that can enhance art. That is the potential out there versus replacing people and artists. And I think this is going to be the major battleground of entertainment, is that very topic right there. And I think you're going to have some companies like Netflix types and other ones that are very algorithmic driven that are going to try and use AI as the tool that creates this stuff. And then you're going to have other companies that are still going to have artists and animators and such that use AI to help bring that to life. I think that is where you're going to see a lot of different companies have different approaches with this. And who wins out on that is probably going to be up to the consumer.
That's a really good point.
If people accept, if people accept it, if Netflix comes out with a fully AI Batman show and people love it and it's like Stranger Things, other companies are going to follow suit. But if you see them do that and people say, screw this, we don't want AI Batman, then that's going to, eventually money talks. And so if people don't watch that stuff, so I think honestly, this is up to the consumer in many ways. And I would just say, don't get blackpilled on it. There are going to be pluses with this. There are dangers with this. But this is one of those things where, like you said, we're in the baby stages of this right now.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, we're definitely in the baby stages for sure. That's why Slimer, when he was talking about his opinion about this open AI deal with Disney, we're still years. I personally think years away from seeing Disney incorporate the AI aspect, in the park where guests can actually notice it. I think right now their objective is to incorporate it in a way that helps their operations on both sides run a lot smoother. So I'm okay with that. It's going to come to a point, though, where, Kiki and Luca, and again, I use that Skynet thing they mentioned, I don't think it's going to get that crazy, but I think people are not going to be happy when they start really implementing the AI aspect and the technology where theme park guests can really notice it. I think right now, by them trying to learn about it, because Jared Slimer, you make an excellent point. Bob Iger or no one, and I'm speaking for the entire company, I don't think they know enough about it yet. And, like you both said, it's in the baby stages. It's adapting, it's growing, it's learning. But I also do agree. I think I forgot who it was. It was Daniel with that super chat. Was I'm sure AI will evolve, sooner or later. But I'm kind of worried about that myself. It trying to show affection that a human being does and has adapted so well in the customer service industry. So that's something that concerns me as well. It's not just Daniel and the people in the chat, because if these theme parks, not just Disney, but Universal and Cedar Fair and all these other companies start incorporating that AI and they pass on the cost to the consumer. And already right now we're seeing it where the costs are just so astronomically high at the parks. But if we lose that human on human interaction and they start turning towards using AI robots and animatronics and all this other stuff, I kind of feel like we might not see the behavior of showing emotion until years and years and years from now. So in my personal opinion, they got to be extremely careful how they incorporate AI into the theme parks. I'm not so worried about the backstage operations. I'm talking about, guest facing operations.
Yeah, no, that's a legitimate concern. And I think that this is one of those instances too, where like with those concerns out there, and say you're Disney or Universal, by being involved in the conversation, you can bring up these things. Because I think a lot of these things are, like you say, OpenAI are these companies, they're going to try and expand AI anywhere they can because they see money. So you have people maybe involved that are a guardrail where they say, hey, it can do X, Y, and Z. And you go, well, hold on a second. Have you thought about this and this and that? And I think that is potentially a plus of having some of these companies be involved in these AI companies, because they're these AI companies are just going to continue to grow and grow and grow whatever vectors they can get into, because that's just what they're going to do. So allowing a pushback there off of real world concerns, I do think is actually important. And I think in many ways you could look at Disney doing this. Like you could look at it as Disney is just going to create AI junk and they're going to put that into the movies and shows, which is a possibility. Or you could look at it them saying, there's, there's a train, and before that thing gets up to top speed, you might as well jump on that thing and try and see, if it's a runaway train, see if we can slow this thing down. And I think that is maybe one way you could look at this. But Slimer, do you have a point you're going to make?
No, so what he's saying is really important. I think that maintaining the human condition aspect of going to a theme park is going to be essential for the Disney company moving forward and for Universal as well. But there is a big distinction, and Jared, this was a point you were making earlier. There is a big distinction between how Netflix is going to appropriate AI technology versus how Disney is going to appropriate AI technology.
Sure.
Netflix is more algorithmic, right? We know this because they're quantity over quality. They put out 10,000 new shows or movies a year, and the ones that make it to season 2, they made the cut. Everybody else did not, right? It's like 10 to 20%. It's a very low margin of success when you're quantitatively pumping out so much content, but you're doing it at a low economy of scale, which is Netflix's big advantage, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Disney has they have a brand that's built on story and nostalgia. And so for them, the human experience is integral to their success and their brand. And so they're going to be a lot more wary when it comes to utilizing artificial intelligence, or more apprehensive, should I say, to the implications of a colder AI. Let's call it a cold AI because that's how we're referring it to. This cold, non-human touch point in a park, because it's probably, as of right now, not going to create that human connection that will lead to good memories and hopefully what their inevitable goal is a lifelong customer. Okay, so big distinctions there. So what we can extrapolate from this is that companies are going to appropriate AI differently based off of current business models. That's not to say that Disney will never incorporate these artificial intelligence into these human touch points. It just really depends on how developed along artificial intelligence ability is to resonate with human beings. Right now, we don't have that. So we don't have to worry about this right now. But that's not to say, like Jared pointed out, they're going to be trying to find out where the perimeter is, because we don't have a perimeter yet.
Right.
So they're going to be shooting in every single direction, and then they're going to figure out, okay, well, this is the line. Here's the line. Here's the line. Here's the line. Here's the line. And then from there, they could start establishing new cost models, because it's always about the cost. New cost models based off of what do you want to call it? Like where the line is and what the customer is going to, put up with and what they're not. But fortunately, AI itself has a really good feedback mechanism as to what people like and don't like. So it's not going to take long for them to figure out where those lines are being drawn.
Yeah. No, and like Burf 90 brings up a good point, which this is a very valid thing. They did a study where they told AI that an employee, Joe, was going to disconnect the AI. 70% of the AI models tested said they'd terminate Joe rather than be terminated. Legitimate concerns. There are weird things that AI did. They call it like hallucinations. Like AI does some, and sometimes they've been shown to even be self-preservation. Like they will copy code to try and basically like keep itself alive. So there are things, and this gets into all these companies and people investing into it don't even understand it completely. So that part of it is a quantity that is kind of terrifying. But I think the more, like, if you're gonna use this technology, the more you can learn about it. And really, like when it comes to AI, it's like whoever controls it is going to end up being the benefactor from this. But like, what's that look like? And I think that at this point, if you're a company, and like I said, it's getting to the point too where it's like you're either in or you're out. Like there's really not going to be a middle ground when it comes to AI. So if this is becoming such a thing, I would want to be involved in the decision process, at least try and understand where all this is going to. And this is what you could look at with their investment as well. And like I said, you could see Comcast, maybe they go with Gemini or something like that. of having these people in here trying to be like, okay, what is like really trying to learn more about this, because I don't think with this $1 billion investment that Bob Iger understands AI, nor probably anybody inside of Disney at the level that makes sense to invest $1 billion with, other than they know AI is coming, it's here. We need to figure out how to utilize this and maybe how to set up parameters to protect our IP. And I think this is the major point that they're probably doing with that. But it's all like, this all is just almost like a hypothetical experiment in real time that we're seeing play out with billions of dollars. It's like, if I was running a company, I would probably have a lot of sleepless nights trying to figure out what's the best way to approach this, because there's no handbook with this. The handbook's being written right now. And so like, I think you could look at the internet as a way that you could say, hey, this is probably a way to go about it. But this is different from the internet itself, I think, in some ways. But there are some similarities. But we got another super chat from Daniel Alpine. We got a $9.99. Thank you, Daniel. Says, I'm suffering nostalgia depression because I miss how the film industry was before AI and streaming ruined everything. I'm scared watching old movies won't help. I don't know. Well, the good thing is there are decades and decades of movies out there that, I mean, you could probably spend the rest of your life playing old video games and old movies and be rather happy. I mean, I actually know people that do that. They don't really play new video games. They play retro games. They watch older movies. You know, I think if, you know, there are people that will just decide like, I'm out. I'm just going to watch the stuff I know and love. And so but I do think there will be studios. I'm actually convinced of this. There will be studios that are just going to say, we are completely a human studio. Everything we make, we don't use AI. And you can almost call it a boutique studio. I think there will be segments of this that pop out that you're going to see people being like, we don't want to use this. And again, it's just going to come down to the consumer. If consumers respond very well to those types of studios, other studios will follow suit as well. And so, I think that is part of it as well. We have Remy D for a 10. Thank you, Remy D. Says, I am ready. I'm already able to create videos of Spider-Man fighting Jedi and Godzilla. I think this is Disney saying, wait, people can do this for free with our IPs. Let's get on that gold mine.
Well, see, it's interesting. Remy, put that in the chat because, as Disney's probably watching this, that's probably why they made this deal, because then what they'll try to bank on is not just what they already are banking on with consumers, across the board on both sides, but they're also going to tap into the AI function where, if people like us want to mess around with AI and use Disney, IPs, we could still do so, but there's going to be a charge for it. So they're tapping into that market, which, it's not unusual for Disney or any company to do so in this regard.
Yeah. Well, in the short-sighted view of it, I know exactly what they'll do with those AI Sora videos. They'll put them on Disney Plus and they'll run ads against them. So they're going to look to monetize very much like the social media algorithms have. They'll monetize some of that AI slop stuff. And that part, I don't know if anybody's going to sign up for Disney Plus to be able to watch fan-created Sora short stuff. You know what I mean? But what's interesting about it, I also wonder if Disney's doing this as a way to basically be an idea kind of gold mine of, you see what people are creating, you see what's popular, and maybe there's something that pops up and they go, a lot of people are really liking these Star Wars short things about whatever it is, a certain topic. And that could give them indications. Like, one of the hardest things to do as a company is figure out what people actually want. That has always been an issue that all companies have had since the beginning of time. Some do it better than others. But if you're able to tap in and have a tool that people are using that you can see the data on, you can see who's liking this and who's not. It does give you an idea. Even if you don't use AI to create that content, you're using AI to get the idea generation side of it. So I do think even if it never went into a fully AI movie or anything of that nature, they could still tap into it in some ways to get ideas and try and give people what they actually want. So you could look at it that way, as potentially you could end up getting better entertainment from this if they're looking to service the demand. That's one aspect of it.
That's a good aspect. Also, I think they're trying to diversify how they approach the audience. So the movie theater experience is a collective experience. It's been around for a very long time, and I think that it's the most influential when it comes to things like pop culture and it kind of sets a narrative as to where we are in society. If it's a film that has something to say,
Right.
But the thing about generative AI and individual creators creating their own films or their own stories is that you can find something that is meaningful for you that you might not necessarily find in the movie theater. And so this individualized form of content creation. So you have the collective experience and you have the singular experience. So it's just you resonating with a specific film from a specific creator that generates more meaning to you as somebody that is absorbing film or content or media. You can't neglect that audience anymore, because that audience right now is going toe to toe with Hollywood, if not being bigger already, because every new generation that is born is Hollywood does not resonate with them the way that it resonated with people born in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. Right.
Yeah.
So you can't neglect that audience. So Sora or any sort of generative AI is a way for these companies in Hollywood to try to create more individualized content for people who are only looking for content that is meaningful to them, but that is not necessarily on a big screen in a movie theater, because not everybody's finding that as an outlet for, not everybody sees that as a quality outlet or an outlet at all for enriching their lives through, for media. Which is weird, but it's true, you know? And I find that to be the case for me as well. I mean, I find YouTube to be vastly more enriching than going to the movie theaters nowadays. And if I feel that, and if that's my case at 43, then a 17 or an 18-year-old or somebody even younger or somebody that's not even born yet is most certainly going to find that to be the case. So I think that they need to fold this into their business model. Otherwise, they're going to leave a lot of money on the table, but they're also going to lose. They're also going to lose out on a lot of just unknown knowns.
Yeah. Well, and I think what you think about too is whatever this generation ends up, however AI shapes out, whether people reject it or they accept it, younger generations are being born now. They're going to grow up with AI being just everyday part of life.
Mm-hmm.
And more than likely, if this generation doesn't accept it, it could change with future generations. So this isn't really as much as even just right now, but how this looks into the future. And I think that is, again, I don't think we're even able to remotely predict that about what that would look like. But, this is one of those things where voting with your attention and your money is where it's going to really speak. If Disney or some other studio does decide to come out with something that's fully AI, and if it is absolutely rejected completely, that will be a signal to most of them, be like, okay, hold on. Like, and I think at that point, like, most people are completely against it in a certain context. I think people enjoy it for like memes and funny stuff on social media, but like your actual art, a serious thing, I think that's where most people would be turned off by the thought of a new Star Wars movie that whether was completely by AI or was assisted by AI. And Remy D brings up a point, kind of what I'd said earlier. Say, first you have organic strawberries, now you'll have organic movie studios. I mean, you could call it organic movie studios. That is a good way to put that. And if that is the case, where you have those offshoots, that will be where the competition is. So it's a weird world, undoubtedly, with all this stuff. But what's going to be really interesting is I could see a scenario where you don't necessarily use AI to create these movies, but I think it'll get to a point where you could sit there on Disney Plus or Netflix or these other ones and say, I want to watch Star Wars as an anime. And it renders Star Wars as an animated anime that you can watch. Or you want to say, I want Han Solo to look like me. Stuff like that, I think, is what they will play with on an individualized, this is my version of the movie that I want to see. I actually think that's where a lot of this is going, not necessarily about all these movies and shows being created by AI, but there will be an individualized portion of it that these companies may try and tap into. If I were to guess, again, this is all just speculation, but I do think there is something to say about that may be what they do. But yeah, no, it's a very interesting conversation. Do you guys anything else to wrap this up on AI that we've talked about a little bit here?
Nah, dude, I think you're right. I think customizable realities are the end goal. Something very akin to like the holodeck on Star Trek.
Yeah.
This is like, yeah, I think this is like this is the prelude to that, but eventually, like on a long enough timeline, that trajectory is going to be goddamn. Dude, Star Trek is so accurate when it comes to its predictions. It's unfathomable. I think Gene Roddenberry must have been like a human from the future that traveled to the past to make a show about what humans evolution would be like in the 20th and 21st century. It's just so ridiculously accurate. But yeah, customizable realities is going to be like the eventual outcome of all this technology. We're just kind of like, we're like in the poo-poo, like the poo-poo single organism phase of it.
Oh yeah, we're in the cave. We are literally the caveman phase of all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like we're essentially writing on walls about what we're gonna do, and then people in 10 years will be like, "What? You guys were right. This thing destroyed us all." Or like, what were you guys so worried about? Like these are the kind of the future scenarios that could play out. But Conductor, you got anything else you want to add?
No, not in the AI aspect, but it kind of ties it in. I kind of had some sense of this, about a couple years ago when, we started to see a decline in people going to movie theaters and streaming being where it's at and whatnot. And Kiki and Luca with another super chat says we're in the Matrix. It feels like we're in the Matrix. I'm not gonna lie.
We are in the Matrix.
But we're starting to see it. With the movie theater sales just not producing what they used to. The fact that I think someone in the chat was saying that they made a AI kind of movie just by throwing in a whole bunch of ideas into an AI generator, and it popped out something. So, between that, streaming being hot right now, and then on top of that, with all these other companies, and we talked about even with the Warner Brothers battle between Comcast, Netflix, and Paramount, was that whoever bought, WB, were they also gonna buy the linear aspect of the company as well? Because linear is just dying out as well. So between that and movie theaters, and the fact that you can sit on your computer not even for an hour or two and create a whole movie just using AI and throwing random characters into a generator, it's phenomenal. But Jared makes a great point, though. We are in the caveman stages of this technology. We think we understand a good chunk of it, but we really don't. We're just barely scratching the surface of what AI can bring.
Yeah, and honestly, wait until quantum computing becomes like every day.
Mm-hmm.
Quantum computing will change a lot of this in terms of what is the ability of this stuff. So there's so many scenarios with this, but I think ultimately, if Hollywood wants to protect themselves from AI, you know what they can start doing? Making great movies and shows again. If there are great movies and shows being made, the demand or the interest in people even wanting AI will not be there for entertainment. I think Hollywood has created this environment now where a lot of people sit there and say, well, give AI a shot, because the stuff coming out, I mean, there is some good stuff that comes out, but there's a lot of junk that comes out. So I think the best thing they could do, maybe this is something that can kick Hollywood in the teeth a little bit and say, hey, if you guys are really scared about this, then it's Game 7, show up and play. Like, bring us great content, and then people will be like, well, okay, like there's still going to be AI aspects to things, but there's not going to be this inherent demand for AI if you're getting good content. And I think that would be their best defense against this, while trying to figure out ways that they can become more efficient with AI but not letting it become the thing that is the art itself. I would say that's where most people's fear is, and I think that if Hollywood wants to protect their industry, that is where they should probably start.
See, you make an excellent point, Jared, because the battle between AI and Hollywood, it's kind of a back and forth situation. I don't think at this point going forward, these actors and actresses and production companies, I don't really feel that they could be really picky on projects that are presented to them, because at a certain point, these production companies are going to say, you know what, hey, Julia Roberts, if you don't want to do this, or hey, Matt Damon, or Jamie Foxx, you don't want to do this production, fine, I'll either find another actor or actress to replace you, or I'll just say, you know what, screw it, I'll go to an AI company, pay a fraction of what I was going to pay you for the movie for you to act in it, and save me and my company a ton of money, and make it all back and then some in the box office or on the streaming platforms for people to rent the license so they can watch it at home. So I don't think Hollywood actors and actresses can be really picky going forward, knowing that AI is up and coming, and the fact that these companies, these production companies, can easily replace these human actors with an AI character.
Well, they don't have the leverage anymore. IPs have all the leverage, so they can be mad all they want. But the reality is that Hollywood has not made a concerted effort to try to increase the value proposition of the theater going experience for over 20 years. When was the last time you went to a theater and said, holy shit, like this place is awesome?
Well, okay. So to counteract that, I'm going to be honest with you. I did go see Five Nights at Freddy's 2 in the theater. Phenomenal. But before that, I couldn't agree with you more, Slimer. I don't think I've been to a movie theater since 2019.
Well, and I'm not talking about just the, a movie. I'm not talking about just a production. I'm talking about the value proposition of the theater itself, what you're getting for what you're paying.
Yeah.
There has not been any move to try to enhance the experience for people to justify spending more money or going there, or even spending the same, but having more to do when they go there, or at least having at the very least, having the illusion of a better value proposition is not even there. Right. So, but like just go back to movie theaters from the 80s to the 90s and then the 90s, 2000s. Every decade you saw a jump in the quality of the movie theater going experience, whether it was stadium seating, reclining seats, RPX, Dolby Atmos. There's always been something for the movie theater to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to continue going. But for the last 10 years, there hasn't been shit. Like they have not reached to Dave and Buster's and said, hey, let's do a joint venture where we're going to have little mini Dave and Buster's in a movie theater for the kids. Or nothing like that whatsoever.
No,
so this is why people are bailing out.
Yeah,
because
no, you're absolutely right, though. You're absolutely right. I could not even agree with you more than what you're saying, because for what I paid to go see Five Nights at Freddy's, just to be honest with you, walking into that movie theater, it kind of felt stale, and it felt like there was nothing really going on. So I could not agree with you more on that. That's why streaming is just where it's at, because it's a convenience factor. How can you tell a family of four, saying, by the time what's drawn us to the movie theater, like it once did, when you're paying a higher price, like you said, Slimer, when there's nothing drawing you in. And the convenience factor is you can be at home, you don't have to drive anywhere, so you don't have to worry about possibly being a factor in that statistic you said early in the live stream about that 35,000 per year ratio. You wouldn't have to worry about that type of stress and trauma trying to race to the movie theater. You could just do it in the convenience of your own home. So I couldn't agree with you more. So when it comes to Hollywood, bringing better productions, better entertainment, and the movie theater is doing the exact same thing, I couldn't agree with you more. In the last 10 years, I don't feel that. So that's why, personally, for me, I'm part of that community that says, hey, unless it's a movie I really honestly want to go see in the movie theater to, experience just the surround sound and the atmosphere of that, then I'm just going to stay home and watch it, in my bedroom and just rent it for half the price. And I don't have to worry about traveling somewhere to go to a movie theater. So I couldn't agree with you more.
Well, and not only that, but it's also the quality difference isn't as much. Now you have, I mean, again, I've said this probably 50 times on a live stream, but you can go to Costco. I mean, you probably know this, Conductor. You can go get a 65-inch TV for under $400 that's crystal clear. That it's not the drastic difference like it used to be, and that technology will continue to get better. So then not only is the convenience side, but you're like for me with sporting events, it's the same thing. I actually got invited to go see a Jacksonville Jaguars game, which is like 30 minutes from my house, for free. And I was like, I don't want to spend a whole Sunday. I can just sit on my couch and watch the game on my TV, and I can just at my leisure. To me, like, I value my time, and I think a lot of people do. So it's like, what is the thing that's going to get me to leave the house? And I think it would be a better argument if you were having banger movies like the 90s and early 2000s, but you don't have that. And so in many ways, Hollywood has created this issue with their lack of overall consistent content, that AI is coming in as a disrupting factor that has put them back on their heels. I think if Hollywood is really healthy right now, this wouldn't be as much of a threat. It would still be a threat they would have to figure out, but they're probably a lot more confident in where they stand if they're like, well, but AI can't make The Dark Knight Rises, or not The Dark Knight Rises, the second one, The Dark Knight. Like, if you're having Christopher Nolan level movies constantly coming out, or Harry Potter's or Lord of the Rings, there's no demand for AI. But no. And I think that's where Hollywood has created this issue many ways of their own creation. Yeah. And so their really best bet is just to, get themselves out of this hole, being like, hey, we got to start giving people what they want. Maybe you use AI to help figure that out. But, you have opened the door up for people in other studios that will utilize technology that service a demand that Hollywood's not. And I think that's the real fear that Hollywood has right now. And you're not going to get the government to step in, because the government is investing in AI as well. So if you're thinking that the government's going to step in and kind of like, hey guys, let's protect movies, I don't think the government has any interest in doing that, considering that they're all in on AI, because you can call it might be a bubble, but look at how much money is pouring into AI from all over the world.
And you make an excellent point, because even Slimer brought it up as well. Hollywood can't keep relying on making sequels to already existing movies that have been out there. You can't keep replicating that. You have to come up with something new. And if Hollywood can't get it with the program and figure this stuff out, then what do you got? And like Haunted Mermaid says, tying back to the movie theater, snacks and food are a hell of a lot cheaper. I can't tell you, the last time I bought food at a movie theater, a large popcorn at, AMC was, I think, like $16. Hell, I can go to Costco, like you're saying about the $400 TV for a 75-inch or a 65-inch, and sit there and go to Costco and buy a box of the microwavable popcorn that you get probably, 50, 60 packs, right? And it's only $20.
Yep. The value proposition doesn't match it, and I think that's where you know, AI might be the thing. You could look at AI and say AI is going to come in and just change. It's going to take over everything. Or you could look at it and say AI is going to be the catalyst that could get a lot of these industries kind of being more like, oh no, we need to up our game. And I think that might be your best case scenario, is they use it as a kick in the rear end to get back to what they used to do as a way to preserve their industry. And I suppose we'll just see what they end up doing off of this. But you know, at the same time, you have, you know, studios are consolidating. There's lots of fear in Hollywood before you even get to AI. And, you know, who knows how this will play out. But I mean, we could talk about this for like 3 hours because, like I said, I actually help smaller businesses set up AI systems. And it is wild the amount of discrepancy of where you have businesses that don't know it. They'll literally come to me and say, I don't know anything about this, but I know I need to use it. And which is a wild thing, like to sit there and pay somebody money to come in and do something when they're like, I don't even know what this is. All I know is I need it because my competitor is using it. And I think you're seeing this play out across all industries right now, and even all, you know, even all of the countries. So it's definitely a wild world, the way this is shaping up. But no, it's a really good conversation. I enjoy it. I mean, you guys bring up some really good points, and Slimer says things that make me I feel worse about myself when Slimer talks. He's able to say it in such a nice way that it's like I always say Jay and Slimer say things that I would like myself to sound like when I say it.
Well, it's funny because I actually feel that way about you, man, because you're just so eloquent when you speak, and then when I talk, I'm just like, what the hell am I saying? But yeah, I guess everybody feels that way about themselves, and it's just natural to, I don't know, just be a little bit self-conscious. But
I'll just say nobody sees my edits in my videos where I fumble over words constantly. My edits make it look super smooth. There's some days when I record a video that some days like it's pretty quick, and I'm like, oh, that was pretty smooth. Yeah. And then you record videos where it's like, I forgot how to read, and I'm like, what? And I just what the hell? Like, I can't say this word. This is ridiculous. But
well,
hooked on phonics works.
Yeah. Hey, there you go. But see, I'm kind of like the opposite effect. Like when I do videos for my channel, or I'm on location filming, I don't mind me making mistakes, because it kind of, in my purview, maybe it's just me, but it kind of makes me feel like, okay, I'm human and I'm not a robot. Like, I'm not going to get every single word in an article that I'm reading to my audience, or if I'm at the park dealing with crowds, dealing with loud noises and stuff, and maybe I say something. I don't feel like, for me, I like to keep it all natural. I'll just throw the video together. I won't really edit it at all. And I'll just put it out there and let people kind of, you know, watch it and see what they think. And then if they have a comment, obviously I'll address it. But, you know, that's, for me, that's how I handle my channel. I like to just keep things very natural and not edit unless I have to.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a valid point. And that's one reason I like doing these live streams with others, because honestly, when my wife and I do the podcast, I work really a lot better when I'm bouncing stuff off of people.
Same.
When it's just me recording. I mean, there are times when I go to do it, and like I'm a rambler. So what I have to do is, like, I don't write out notes. I just start going, which I think is good and bad, but it's really bad on the editing side where I'm like, oh, what the hell? Like, I had all these sections. I'm like, okay, I got to go figure where to put this. And yeah, you'd think it gets better, and some days are better than others, but sometimes I record a video and I get done and I'm like, I have 50 minutes of content that I have to ends up being like 18 minutes. So there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make the cut. But
I'm the same way. I can communicate my ideas better when I'm bouncing them off of people or talking directly to a person. But when for example, OG, he'll leave a voicemail and he does it seamlessly. It takes me at least 10 false starts for me to get a voice message across in the text. And I'm like, finally, like, how come I couldn't get that across the first time?
Yeah.
It's just communicating to a device, whether it's a computer or a phone, and just talking into it as a message, or I can't do it.
Yeah. And then there are good days. Like when we used to do vlogging, that was one of those things too. It's like, I didn't really like worry about mistakes because you got like little snippets you're saying.
Yeah.
But it's like, it depends on the type of video. Like when I was doing the Stardust Racers video, like it's a very, like, that's a somber topic. So it's like, okay, I don't like I normally try and like bring like a little levity and kind of joke around in videos. I'm like, okay, this one I have to be very serious. And then that gets me out of my normal element because I'm typically very sarcastic and like I'll throw in memes when I can. So on those videos, I'm very much out of my element. And so I recorded that one earlier today, and it was tough because I would get to a point I'm just like, okay, how do I okay, I'm trying to like figure out like how to do this respectfully,
right.
Which I completely mean. I hope we never have to talk about that subject again because it's not a good one, and it's not fun content to make. But it is. I mean, it's important stuff to talk about, of course. But well, before we go, we were going to hit another topic. We're already at 2 hours here, and I don't want to keep you gentlemen any later. And it's late for Slimer Night here. Hold on, I want to highlight a comment here. Zachary Cleary says, the last time I went to a theater was last year, and the movie I saw was Twisters. Okay. I liked Twisters, by the way.
That was a good one. I really enjoyed that.
That was like shut your brain off. Like, I want the truck that like drilled down into the ground. And like having lived in the Midwest, I hate tornadoes. I loathe them. So I was like, man, I could have used a truck like that because I've been driving when there's a tornado that pops up. It's not a fun time.
Oh shoot.
But no, I was going to show you guys what you'll know when I've made it. Maybe when I win the lottery, there'll be signs, and this will be one of them when I have stuff like this.
I think I know where you're going with this. Oh yeah.
Oh boy, here we go.
Hey Soundwave. Hey T9.
I'm here.
Hey Megatron.
What's wrong?
Hey Grimlock.
Yes, we go.
Transform.
Dude, that is so awesome.
Heck yeah, dude.
Like, dude.
Hey Optimus Prime.
Greetings.
Hey Bumblebee. Hey Soundwave. Hey T9.
Gosh, I love Soundwave.
Hey Megatron.
What's wrong?
Hey Grimlock.
Yes, we go.
Transform.
Gosh, that's so insane.
Oh my God. I think his living room is entirely cleared out. I can already imagine the conversation between him and his wife. His wife comes home. He's like, he's already got everything moved out of the room. She's like, what are you doing, John? He's like, oh, did you see the Transformers? I've showed you these, right? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to record them all transform at the same time. She's like, what the?
Yeah,
who did I marry?
After this was recorded, that he had all the marital sex he would like after this. I'm assuming that Just, hey babe, are you not in the mood? Hold on 1 second. By the way, that is probably almost 10 grand in toys right there.
That's crazy.
Oh, by far.
I want the transforming Optimus and Soundwave so bad. By the way, I do think I am getting, there's that Soundwave Lego set that they have. I'm pretty sure I am getting that for Christmas, which is all I really asked for. But dude, Soundwave is the best.
Soundwave is awesome.
Just pooping 16 says, have I joined the based theme park fans department? I think you're probably in the right spot. Just poop.
He just happened to slide right in at the very end.
I love it.
The image, it says it's SpongeBob and it says fart. I don't know why I respect all of that.
On brand, my friend.
On brand. Oh man. So yeah, I just wanted to show that because my wife sent me that and I was like, you realize that I need this in my life. And she's like,
you definitely need it.
Yeah. I feel like at some point with AI, we might have a future where actual transforming cars are real. And if that's the case, I'm all in on AI. If Bob Iger told me, listen, I bought into OpenAI because we can make Transformers, I'd be like, I'm in, Bob. I'm in. If I could get my car and it turns into Optimus Prime, listen, there might be dangers with it, but that's all I've ever wanted.
Honey, we're selling the house, but it's for a very good reason.
Exactly. Exactly.
I can explain. Okay, listen, I need my car.
That would be an interesting conversation.
But can our house do this?
Just Poopin says it's a Michael Scott joke. Wait, which one?
I love that.
I know The Office. I know The Office at a very high level. I'm trying to. I don't know which. Just Poopin. You know how be okay. I forgot about that line.
Wow.
By the way, I say that to my wife sometimes. I go, you know how I be, and just walk off. Like, oh man, well, this has been a really fun live stream. I appreciate you guys joining. But before we go, just want everybody to know where to find you guys. So, Theme Park Conductor, thank you for coming on. As always, it's a great conversation. And where can everybody find you? And be sure to go subscribe to these gentlemen. I did put. I saw somebody drop your link in the description, Conductor. I also dropped Slimer's in there as well. So be sure to go subscribe to these guys if you have not already. But Conductor, where can everybody find you? And thank you for being here.
Absolutely. And I want to thank both you gentlemen for inviting me on the very first ever theme park and live stream that I've been part of. It was absolutely a great time. You know, all the topics we talked about tonight was just phenomenal. You know, and that open AI stuff, we could talk for hours on end because there's so much to break down and discuss. So for the time we talked about it, it was incredible. I want to thank you both, and I cannot wait to see you in less than 3 months, gentlemen. I will be out there in Florida, and I cannot wait to hang with you both. I want to give a big shout out to everyone in the chat that has supported tonight's live stream with the super chats. We even had a super sticker, and also two people in the chat that I absolutely made new moderators of Theme Park Conductor, which was Haunted Mermaid 13 and Kiki and Luca. Congratulations to both people for being new mods for the channel. But you can find me, Theme Park Conductor, on YouTube and Blue Sky at Theme Park Conductor. You can find me on Instagram at theme_park_conductor. You can also find me on X at Theme Conductor, TikTok at Theme Park Conductor 1, and every Sunday at 5 or 7 p.m. for Conductor Sunday live stream, where we talk everything from Universal, Disney, the holiday seasons at the parks, and we talk about rumors, speculation. We talk about also the movie aspect of what's going on with that. So it's a great time. We have great guests on there. The chat interacts very, very well. It's just such a great time. And also, programming note, by the way, on Sunday, Hollow Gelato actually invited me to Burbank to go check out Walt Disney Studios for a private D23 Christmas event. So it will be my first time on the lot. So that should be exciting.
Nice. Sounds like a good time. Well, thank you for being here, of course. And Slimer, thank you for being here as well. Where can I find you? And everybody, go subscribe to Slimer. He has one episode. He's at 52 subs. I want Slimer to be at 100 subs, okay? Because I've been using peer pressure on Slimer that he needs to do some content. I'm encouraging more content from Slimer. So let's get him to 100 subs. But Slimer, where can I find you? And thank you for being here.
Hey, I really appreciate that. Go subscribe to my channel. It's at Slime Square. And then on X and on Instagram, you could find me over at Slime Square 84.
There you go. And I guess I should say, if anybody is interested in being a mod over here, shoot me an email at jared@capturethemagicpodcast.com. I don't think I have any mods set up. I probably should get some. So if anybody is interested, shoot me an email over there. We'll get you set up with that. That kind of reminded me, Conductor, that I probably should have some mods in here from time to time. But before we go, Remy D did say, how about a Transformers attraction where you actually ride in Bumblebee as he transforms?
Yes.
I'm completely in.
Why not?
I didn't know I needed that in my life, but now I do need it. So now I'm going to be fixated on that. But no, it's a great time. Thank you, everybody involved in the chat. I really did enjoy seeing your guys' opinions on, especially on AI stuff, and just see where you guys are at. And of course, the super chats. Thank you, everybody. Kiki and Luca, Vinton Solars. We also had Daniel Alpine dropped a few in here. So thank you very much, Daniel. We also had Remy D and Kiki and Luca. So thank you guys very much. Your support is greatly appreciated, as we enjoy doing these. And we enjoy when you guys are also having a good time here. So it's a lot of fun. And we will, I'm going to do, I think for Christmas, by the way, I think I may do a Christmas Eve live stream or something. But I will do some live streams around Christmas. So might see if you guys want to hop on if you guys are free or something like that. But I like the idea of like nice and cozy, streams and things of that nature. And Just Poopin said, just subbed only because of your based background.
All right. Thank you very much, Just Poopin. Appreciate it.
That is a based background. So, yeah, but we're going to get out of here. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And I will be live sometime next week. I'll let you guys know. But until next time, we'll see you guys later. Thank you, everybody, and have a great weekend. And if I don't talk to you guys before now, between the end, have a great Christmas and a Happy New Year and all those things. But we'll talk to you guys later.
Good evening. Tempers flared at Universal Studios tonight when the park ran out of its signature drink, butterbeer. What started as disappointment soon grew into a noisy confrontation with security and police.
Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. It's Christmas. Yeah. Sleigh bells ring. It's Christmas. Gift in my hand. It's Christmas. Grab a quick more Christmas. Right up the block. It's Christmas. Yeah.
Yo! Move! Back up! Oh my God! It's hitting the monorail!
Get ready to blast beyond your imagination at the all-new Epic Universe theme park.
It's the adventure of every world in one place.
Thrill through twisting coasters, journey through cosmic frontiers, and end your night under dazzling...
Buckle up, time travelers. Blast through the past, rocket to the future, and hang on tight as you chase the clock in the ultimate adventure. It's fast, it's furious, and it's only at Universal Studios Orlando. Back to the...
Hello, neighbor. Welcome to the Capture the Magic channel. I'm so glad you found your way here. I've heard that the host, Jared, is a very handsome and charming guy. And you know something? I think you'll enjoy listening to him a whole lot.